Hey, what's happening? This is Iyana Ma'at that is showing up today, and I'm coming to you to do part two. Got a lot of feedback on this issue around repression. So many people was like, "Hey, that's me." And so if you have not seen part one of this video, you can click the link below. And you can go to part one. Part one, just as a recap, I really focused on repression, and I focused on that within the context of a relationship. Like I said, I think the video title is, "Are you in relationship with someone who doesn't feel?" Right? Like, because when we repress, that's what we're talking about. When we repress our feelings, we're not in touch with them. We're not aware of them. And so I talked about that. And just as a general kind of understanding to get us started on this part two today, again, repression is really about, and you'll see me looking up and down because I have my notes here. It's interesting that I'm going down this road of repression. I don't know why this is the defense mechanism that I'm focusing on right now, but this is what people are like. It's resonating with you guys. It's coming up for me as a point of interest, particularly as I see this in relationships manifesting in all shapes and forms. So we're going to go with this. But repression, it's a defense mechanism. It's used as a way for people to keep unpleasant feelings or memories out of their awareness, out of their mind, out of their atmosphere, so they don't have to deal with it. So it may be memories from the past. It may be feelings in general that are unpleasant. And that are seemingly, at least to the person who's perceiving them, it's just too much to handle. And so we repress, we push them down, we get them out of our awareness. And so that is why we talked about in the last video, you're dealing with somebody who apparently seems like they can't feel. They're not in touch with no emotions, so they don't know what you're talking about, and they can't feel you, right? Because they're not feeling. So I wanted to go a little bit deeper today. We have some notes here. I wanted us to really focus a little more on repression itself, and really get into what this is, because many of you, like I said, emailed me and said in the comments, "Hey, this is me," and I really like to hear some more about this. So again, repression is about pushing feelings that are not pleasant, emotions that feel overwhelming or feel like a threat on some level to you, at least unconsciously, out of your awareness, down and out, so you don't have to deal with it. And sometimes, we might even get a little glimpse of it. We start to feel a little bit of something, and we push it out of our mind because we think, "I'll deal with it later. I don't have time for that right now. I cannot deal with that. I cannot go there, so I'll deal with it later." But guess what, y'all? Later never comes. It never comes, right? And so it is a universal principle. I want y'all to really take this in, that energy cannot be created or destroyed, right? It just changes form, right? Energy can never be created or destroyed. This is scientific. This is a universal law. It only transforms. So if you think about that, when you think about repression, you know that when you're pushing your feelings down and your emotions out of your awareness, they're not disappearing. You're not pushing them out like bye-bye. No, you're not releasing them. You're just pushing them out of your awareness, but they are still with you. They are never completely gone. And what really happens is that, if we think about our subconscious or unconscious mind as a house, our unconscious feelings, or because oftentimes this happens unconsciously, we're not really aware that this is going on, but we can see it when somebody points it out, like I'm pointing it out to you right now. Oftentimes, if we think about it as a house, our feelings and our emotional framework as a house, the feelings that we push out of our awareness are pushed into the basement of our mind. And they sit there. You think about things you have in the basement, they sit there, and what happens to them? You forget about them. You forgot it was even down there. They begin to collect dust. And so when you think about our feelings that we're repressing, they are collecting emotional dust, right? Emotional dust is just gathering, and residue is just building up on them. But the stuff is there, right? Because when it's time to move, you still got to go back in that basement, right, and pick that stuff up. So it's still there. And when we have these unpleasant emotions sitting in the basement of our mind, what's happening? They are attracting like energy, because emotions, energy only attracts like. And so what begins to happen is that you see situations coming to you that begin to trigger, and maybe sometimes we use the word trigger, or we use these two words, kick up stuff for you. And you're like, why is this coming to me? Because it's out of your awareness and you're not leading your life with it, but it's there and it's pulling to you situations, circumstances, and people that have similar energy to the repressed emotions and feelings that you have not dealt with. And this is why in our relationships, we still are attracting someone who ends up looking like our father, who we had a really funky ass relationship with, who perhaps even abused us, or, some kind of childhood trauma that's happened seems to keep coming up in our lives in a way that, that is really like overwhelming. And we're like, why do I keep dealing with this? Because those repressed emotions are sitting there and they are attracting, again, like energy. And it comes into our life day to day. And so until we deal with it, until we really look at it for what it is, we continue to bring that type of energy and those type of people that bring that type of energy to our lives to us. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think y'all follow me. If you're with me, make sure you like this video. Okay. So what happens then from there? Pressure begins to build. And it begins to build because emotional dust is gathering in the basement of our mind, and it's building. Again, it's out of your awareness, but it's not that this is not happening inside of you, because it is. And so what tends to happen is that we will have some type of response, because gradually this emotional dust is accumulating, and it tends to look like this. I wrote this down here. We may have a fit of rage. We have some type of explosion or explosive kind of issue that happens where we just can't take it anymore because this internal pressure has been building up and we're not dealing with it and we're not looking at it. So when we turn away from our emotions and we repress, that is going to lead to some unhealthy stuff that really comes from that. And what can we do? We repress, right, or suppress our feelings. Sometimes we have an inappropriate release, like I said, the explosion, where we say things out of anger or what have you, and it's really an inappropriate release. It actually creates more drama. It doesn't help your situation. And then other times we distract ourselves. We just, do things like smoke some weed, or, I'm gonna go shopping, right? That's where addictions start to come out, because now we're trying to distract ourselves from dealing with what we feel. And eventually what happens is that this becomes a pattern in our lives. This becomes a pattern in terms of how we deal with our emotions and our feelings, very much in an unconscious way. We're not even aware, but you're getting aware today. And it's indefinite. That's why you have 60, 70-year-olds who cannot acknowledge the reality or the truth about whatever their situation is, because they never had the willingness or the wherewithal to really address what was going on for them, right? So it becomes an indefinite pattern, and really your quality of life, how you live your life, becomes completely compromised because you did not realize you do have the capacity to deal with and heal from whatever it is you're trying to avoid. That happens, or what you often see, you say, girl, she had a breakdown. They had to, she just went off and fell out, and I think she's in the hospital and she had to take some medicine, right? And so, a breakdown has a negative connotation in our society, but a breakdown, anytime I hear that, I say, I really like to kind of get with that person if I could, because that's a great release. And oftentimes when you have a breakdown, it is a crisis in nature. It is like, oh my goodness, in nature, right? Like, oh my gosh, we got to contain this. But it is actually a release that has needed to happen for so long, where you can just feel the feelings, allow them to pass through, and have that pressure just go down. And you oftentimes, just like, when you throw up, what happens when you throw up? You throw up and then it feels what? Oh, my stomach feels a little bit better because you got it out, right? So that's what happens with a breakdown. But there are healthy ways, y'all, to be able to deal with our emotions and our feelings. And there are ways to get ourselves out of this place of repressing feelings and emotions. Again, whether it's from childhood or some long time ago memories, or if it's, feelings that we just typically don't do well with and we tend to repress in our everyday lives. We can handle it, and we can train ourselves to do differently. And so I'm going to stop short because I see this video is already going to 10 minutes. What I will tell you is that there's a first step, and the first step is radical self-honesty. Radical self-honesty, to be completely honest about what it is you feel, and to own those feelings, and courage, because you cannot be honest and say fucked up shit about yourself and maybe some fucked up shit about people you love and people who have hurt you, unless you have courage to know that just because you messed up a little bit doesn't mean that that you're not good enough or that you are not enough, that you're still all right even in the midst of your effed upness, right? And that your mama, your daddy, your auntie, your husband, your wife, whatever, even in the midst of how they have really hurt you or perhaps damaged you in some way, that they still can be an okay person. Because sometimes we don't allow ourselves to say the truth of what things are or how they feel to us, because then it makes somebody else a really bad person. And we can't handle it. We're like, no, they can't be. Or it makes us really bad or not okay. And we feel like we can't handle it. All of us are multifaceted. We have different layers to who we are. And we will not become all that we are supposed to be. We will not manifest all of God's glory unless we are able to acknowledge the full picture. And that requires radical self-honesty and great courage. And it can be done. If this resonated with you, those are the steps. Those are the first 2 steps. I think I'm going to keep flowing with this. If y'all want me to go a little further, go ahead and give me some love. Let me know. Give me some response. Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you want me to talk about more. But there's a process. And I think I might want to even maybe do a little online class or group or something on this so that we can really get into a guided process on how to get ourselves back to balance when it comes to feeling our feelings, owning who we are, owning all of it, knowing that all of it's good, because all of the stuff, even the negative, nasty stuff, makes us who we are. God don't make no junk. And guess what? It's a part of our divine purpose anyway, to feel everything, to know everything in terms of who we are and what all of our stuff is, to acknowledge it, and then to put it in place so that it propels us to our destiny. I hope that this has been of help to you. This is part 2, y'all. If you liked it, go ahead and like it on the YouTube video. Let me know what your thoughts are. Hit me up. Shoot me an email. Whatever. I want to hear from you. Peace, y'all. Be intentional.